How's it going, gents? Here we are today in front of Bunnings on my wife's Kawasaki Ninja 636, white and black, 2013 model. So I wanted to talk today about Ninja 636 versus Daytona 675R. As you'll know, I've had a 2013 636, a green one. I rode that every single year. For a year and every single day for a year and a half I rode that bike. Now my wife's had her 636 for a little over a year now, and I ride this bike quite often as well. So I do know quite a lot about the old Kawasaki Ninja 636. Done plenty of kilometers on it, but today I wanted to talk about my last bike I had before I bought the MT10 SP. It was a 2014 Triumph Daytona 675R, arguably the best 600cc sports bike you can get. And really how it compares to a Ninja 636 is, again, I rode the Daytona 675R every single day for about a year, so I know that bike quite well as well. And at one point we had both of these bikes. I will say that they're quite similar, both bikes. Most 600s are quite similar, all the Japanese 600s. And it's kind of the reason why I didn't sell the Daytona 675R, was because my wife bought this bike and we have like two 600s in white in the garage, and I'm like, man, I gotta get something different. This is just because they are so similar, which is a good thing because they're both brilliant bikes. The 636 has got a lot of the good traits like the 675R had, but some slight differences. So I'll go over the differences. Firstly, I'll say what's really great about both bikes and what's very similar about these bikes. So probably the closest similarity to these bikes will be the lightweight and about the overall power delivery. So they're both pretty damn light, come in at I think about 165-ish kilograms dry both each, and they both make about 130 horsepower at the crank. They do it slightly differently, and but that's where they're very similar. Also, the brakes and suspension are both brilliant on both bikes, and that's really a testament to the 636. It's kind of expected on the Daytona 675R because that's using Öhlins and M4 Brembo brakes. But the amazing thing is how good the 636 stuff is, because this is just using Japanese components, but the Nissan monoblocks on the front are spectacular, man. Really freaking good brakes. And the Showa separate function big piston, geez, that's a long name for a fork. The suspension on the 636 is fantastic as well. I always really liked it. Was always a huge fan of it. When I first bought my first 600, which was the Ninja 636, just as it came out, I never complained once about the brakes or the suspension. It was fantastic. That's a nice Ferrari FF. Very similar in those respects. Now, that's fine, but you're probably wanting to know what's different about the two bikes, because yeah, they're both 600, so a lot of those things are going to be the same. What's the differences? Probably what I would say the two biggest differences are, one, it's a different style engine. So you've got a 4-cylinder 663cc in this bike, and a 675cc triple in the Daytona, and they make power in completely different ways. Whereas this bike is a screamer. It needs lots and lots of revs to get any power going. It's actually, if you've ever ridden or come from 1000cc motorcycles, once you get back on a 600, it's always the case when I always ride 1000cc motorbikes. Whenever I jump back on a 600, it's kind of hilarious how it's just zero power you've got off the bottom and stuff. And that's just a trademark of a 4-cylinder CC. It's you've got to rev it to make all that power. There's power there, and it's very linear and very nice. Great for a racetrack, having linear power like that, but just nothing on the bottom. You've got to be up screaming at the top end Where I will say the Daytona, it has this nice little bit of mid-range. Not as much power at the top, so it really doesn't need to be revved. You can kind of short shift the Daytona or keep it more in the middle of the rev range, and it makes a great sound. The triple really starts howling and stuff, and it's absolutely beautiful to be in that mid-range. Whereas on the 636, man, you just got to be screaming over 12,000 RPM the entire time. That's when it's in its element, man. It's right when it's screaming off the top end, and you will actually get slightly more horsepower on this 636 than the 675. I think based on that, it makes all its power right at the top end. So other than the engine being probably the biggest difference, the second biggest difference that I noticed was kind of unexpected was kind of this geometry of the bike and the seating position. The Daytona is slightly more leant over, but I found was actually more comfortable, the Daytona, than the 636, purely because of how thin it was in the middle. I think now these engines run across sideways, so the 4-cylinder goes this way. That's why it's quite wide here, really wide. So you actually find you got to kind of have your legs bent out sideways. All Japanese 4-cylinders are like that. Whereas the Daytona is much thinner in the middle. It's actually a lot like the 2019 BMW S1000RR, incredibly thin in the middle, and it gives you unbelievable confidence and grip on your legs because they're not bent out like this. You can keep them quite tight and stuff. The Daytona was fantastic for that, and actually made it very comfortable, even though it was a slightly more leant over bike than the 636. Melburnians watching might know where I am. I'm in Footscray right now. My wife requires a fob roll, so I said, I'm gonna make a video on your motorcycle. Payment of doing so, I'll get you a fob roll. So we'll find a Japanese bakery, Vietnamese bakery. This'll do. Toes Bakery. You'll have a fob roll. Crispy chicken, no, pork. I don't know, some kind of roll. I don't eat them. I eat McDonald's. She was laughing at me in Vietnamese because I didn't know what to get. During the Vietnamese War, a lot of refugees, immigrants from the war, came to Australia. A lot of them settled here in Footscray and Richmond. This is kind of a monument for the Vietnamese people coming to Australia. My wife's parents came over in the 80s during the war to escape all of that hell. Come over to sunny Australia. And now they're over in Australia thriving. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with 636 versus Daytonas. Electronics comparison on the Daytona. The Daytona doesn't have any traction control. It does have ABS. Hello, Papa. It does have ABS along with this bike. I'll say that pretty comparable. I think the Daytona's got slightly better ABS. It's not up there at the level of your new modern bikes with corner ABS and other features and stuff. I know the BMW actually regulates how much ABS it'll allow you in different modes and different lean angles and stuff. This is just more of a basic ABS on the 636 and on the Daytona. The Daytona, I believe it was an option for a quick shifter, but then it came standard in the Daytona 675R. 636 never had a quick shifter. In I think the newer one does. Remembering that this is just a, I'm just talking about the older generation of 636, not the brand new one that's coming out for 2019. This one, the better looking one, I think. I think the new one looks like a Ninja 300. I can't even tell the difference anymore, other than like looking at the brakes and stuff. They look just so similar. I think this is a great looking bike, the older generation 636. Now this does have power modes and traction control. The traction control again is quite basic, and when the traction control is on, it will stop you from doing wheelies as well. You need to turn that off. I think it counts wheelies as braking traction. I'll show you in a second. And the power modes are kind of not really necessary, really. I think I started my wife off in the low power mode, and then I put in the full power mode. I don't think she could really even tell the difference. It's not like a, as I said before, that makes so little power down low. if you just regulate the power yourself by how much throttle you give it. It's not like a leader bike where you crack the throttle and it's just like in slick mode it's a lot different than in rain mode. It actually is making a difference of, you know, 60 to 70 horsepower or something. The power modes make a lot more difference in a leader bike. So we've got traction control on right now. I'm going to give it a clutch up in first. Won't happen. It actually came up then, but I could hear it trying to modulate the throttles, which is kind of weird. And failing. It's a bit like my MT10 where it doesn't really know how to process wheelies as loss of traction. So the traction control, especially in first gear after a clutch up, it doesn't really know how to deal with it doing a wheelie. It's not really smart enough, the traction control. So I don't know if you could hear it then. It was kind of going on the throttle. I kind of had enough power in first to keep the front wheel up a little bit. So it will kind of let you do the weird small wheelies in first, but I know in second I could never really do wheelies with the traction control on. Whereas the Daytona, no traction control whatsoever or anything, so it'll let you do wheelies all day long with no electronic governance. That's all, gents. Quick video on the 636. It's summertime now, so I wanted to kind of ride my MT10 and the 636 a bit more. You want to hear it? This has got the stock exhaust, so it's quite quiet, but this is what the 636 sounds like. I would show you what the Daytona sounds like, but I don't have that bike anymore. But just imagine a triple whine and howl. This is a 636. Just that classic four-cylinder Japanese rev. Great sound, even from the dead stock exhaust, which everyone yells at me about. And I'm like, it's not my bike, man. It's my wife's bike. She likes being quiet. She can have her quiet exhaust. As soon as when I got my 636, I put an M4 GP exhaust on it. Frick, it was loud. She likes being quiet and subtle. It's her bike. She can do what she wants with it. But anyway, gents, have a happy new year. Enjoy summertime. If you're in Australia. If you're in winter, suck it. It's cold and miserable. It's our time to shine. I should get my wife to do a vlog. I know she'll never do it, but she can tell you. I'd like to, as someone who's probably still like a beginner motorcycle rider, so it'd be good to hear from her perspective what she's like moving up to a 600 from, you know, riding proper learner bikes, because it was quite daunting for her to go to a powerful bike like the 636. So I'll see if I can convince her to do a video. Smash some, well, I never do. I never say subscribe or smash likes. I'm not going to start now.